Hello, we're live. I'm waiting for Wendy to come in. This is the Lennie Mclean and Roy Shaw chat. So Wendy was a friend of Roy Shaw's before he died. Obviously, him and Lenny had 3 fights. I've got a video I'm going to put up in a minute. Hello to whoever's in. Just waiting on Wendy and a few people to come in. Interesting book, Lennie Mclean, the Governor book. Really good book. If you haven't read it, I think you can get it now for about £3 or £4 on eBay, which is well worth it. Well worth the read. Roy Shaw's as well. I'm just waiting on Wendy at the moment. Hopefully she'll be coming in a minute. But I will put this video on. No, where is it? Here we go. Here we go. So this is the 3rd fight between Roy Shaw and Lennie Mclean. Roy Shaw got the first one. Lennie Mclean got the second one. So if you like, this was a decider. Obviously, Roy's given about 10 years away in age. But, you know, he still had the fight of a dog in him. So this is the trilogy. The biggest unlicensed trilogy probably to date. There ain't no other unlicensed fights I've seen that have been like this with the build up to this. And obviously, most of us weren't even around when this was happening, or very, very young kids, you know. So these fights stay in legend, don't they? So both fighters in the ring, both heavyweight, both big old fighters. Dave Courtney there, a young Dave Courtney before he lost all his hair. Big associate there. So here we go. Roy Shaw straight in. Roy Shaw like a dog, and he just constantly moving forward. A couple of decent uppercuts there from Mclean. Obviously everyone knows Mclean's got a lightning uppercut. Roy Shaw working the body. Lennie Mclean just gripping him with that uppercut. 3 uppercuts there from Lenny. Roy, look, it's just dragging onto Lenny, trying to tire him down. Massive right there from Roy. Oh, Lenny's caught him. Wow. 5 or 6 big shots there from Lenny. Another one. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my God. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Wow. Over 20 punches there. Left, right. And look, Roy Shaw's up. How the hell has he got up from that? Oh my God. So Lennie Mclean straight back in. Straight back in. Finishing the job now. Looking to finish Roy Shaw. Wow. Look at them big rights. Oh, to the back of the head. Oh. Yeah, the rules in unlicensed were a bit sceptical, weren't they, back in the day? But that was the 3rd one. I think I've got Wendy. I've got Wendy. I'm going to bring her in. Evening, Wendy. How are you? Can you hear me? Wendy, can anyone hear me? Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Is my sound coming through? Wendy, you're on mute. Wendy's on mute, I think. How do I unmute? Can't unmute this because I chose. So Wendy's on. Can you hear me, Wendy?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Loud and clear. So yeah, Wendy, you can't hear me. It still says you're on mute, Wendy. She can't hear me. All right. Everyone else can hear me, yeah?
Is that better?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Everyone else. She can't hear me. Can you hear me, Wendy? Oh, right, she's gone. Right. Good evening, good evening. How is everyone? Do you want me to play that video? I'm going to play that video again quickly of them two having that fight. It was quite brutal, wasn't it? Well, I'll try and get Wendy back. Here we go. So this is the 3rd fight between Roy Shaw and Lennie Mclean. Roy Shaw got the first one. Lennie Mclean got the second one. So if you like, this was a decider. Obviously, Roy's given about 10 years away in age. But, you know, he still had the fight of a dog in him. So this is the trilogy, the biggest unlicensed trilogy probably to date. There ain't no other unlicensed fights I've seen that have been like this with the build up to this. And obviously most of us weren't even around when this was happening, or very, very young kids, you know. So these fights stay in legend, don't they? So both fighters in the ring, both heavyweight, both big old fighters. Dave Courtney there, a young Dave Courtney before he lost all his hair. Big associate there. So here we go. Roy Shaw straight in. Roy Shaw like a dog, and he just constantly moving forward. A couple of decent uppercuts there from McClain. Obviously everyone knows McClain's got a lightning uppercut. Roy Shaw working the body. Lennie Mclean just gripping in with that uppercut. 3 uppercuts there from Lenny. Roy, look, it's just dragging onto Lenny, trying to tire him down. Massive right there from Roy. Oh, Lenny's caught him. Wow. 5 or 6 big shots there from Lenny. Another one. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my God. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Wow. Over 20 punches there. Left, right. And look, Roy Shaw's up. How the hell has he got up from that? Oh my God. So Lennie Mclean straight back in. Straight back in. Finishing the job now. Looking to finish Roy Shaw. Wow. Look at them big rights. Oh, to the back of the head. Wendy, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear me. Brilliant. Excellent. Well, that was their last fight, wasn't it, that one? That was the 3rd one. Did you see it? What fights they were, weren't they? They were brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah, there's nothing like them now, is there? Like, I've never seen anything like Roy Shaw, literally. That no wonder they call him a legend.
Obviously, you knew him personally, so can you just tell people about Roy Shaw, and I'll do a little chat about Lennie Mclean afterwards. What
Yes,
you know,
I was too
obviously.
late. Yeah, I was too late to meet Lenny. I come on the scene just after he died, but I was very close to Roy. So I met Roy at Caesars in Streatham when Joey Pyle Jr. started doing the fights after his dad had passed away. And Lenny was always top tier. So you had, Roy, so you had Dave Courtney, Roy Shaw, Joe Pyle, Freddie Foreman, you had Mitch Pyle, and you literally had every face there was around Roy. And you felt Roy's aura as soon as he went up there on that top tier and at his table. You just felt, you know, everyone was he was like a god. He literally does exactly what it says on the tin. When people say Roy Shaw, the legend, or when people have got stories or that footage that you just put up there, he was like a god. And no 2 ways about it. There will never be another Roy. He was the real governor. And Joey Pyle Jr., and if Senior was still alive, they would tell you, as they've told me, that he was the real governor. Because the way he carried himself, he was a very strong man. Well, anyone to go up against someone, I mean, Lennie Mclean's a big fucker. So anyone to go up against Lennie Mclean, you know, is always going to be a legend. But I think Roy was a true warrior. He didn't care. You know that old saying that we've got in it, hello Starshine, thank you. You know that old saying we've got amongst us, a lot of the old school boxing world and the unlicensed, is that you literally where you get a certain person that is a face, and it was Roy. Back then it was Roy. And he literally, no one messed with him. And there isn't anyone like Roy to this day.
Have you read his book?
Yeah.
You have. Well, one of the things I found, I haven't read it for about 10 years, but there's one thing I can remember about it, and it was right at the end where he had a fight with a couple of doormen, and I think they got the better of him. And then he went back at the end and hid behind a skip or something, if I remember rightly, didn't he?
Yeah, because when I went to his funeral, and they said that at his funeral, the stories at his funeral, you know, I think, you know, what they say, where it isn't the size of the man, it's the size of the fight in the dog. That was Roy. definitely.
It was a good book as well from memory. I mean, him and Lenny, they sort of started all coming out at a similar time, didn't they? Dave's book, Stop the Ride, I Want to Get Off.
Yeah,
Then Lenny's come along. But they were brilliant books to read, weren't they?
yeah. I
So
think
what
they
do you know
were.
about Lenny? Do you know anything about Lennie Mclean? Obviously, you've
No, unfortunately, I'd love to have met with Lenny. I know he was an old school doorman, and that's how him and Roy, you know, come to meet each other. And I know that a lot of people had dealings with Lenny, you know, Joe Pyle. But I missed him. I was too late on the scene. But Roy, I was around a lot. Roy literally came to all. I gave Roy. We produced Roy with his belt, Roy Shaw belt, and I got in the ring and we gave that to him. I think there's pictures of that where there's me, Joe Pyle Jr.
yeah. Let
And
me stick some of these. I'm going to put some of these pictures up, Wendy, while you're talking. Carry on. I'll
yeah,
stick some of these pictures.
yeah. So we give him a belt, which he earned, you know. And he was just an amazing guy. He's one of them people, Roy, that where he came to my show, my boxing show. That's my show there on the screen. Big Joe Egan, me, Mitch Pyle, Colton, Rocky, and Joe Pyle Jr. That's my own boxing show that I was very, very humbled, very lucky to have Roy to come to that. And that's the one that his son fought on as well. That was a one-off. And, you know, very, very, that's probably the best time that we saw Roy in his sort of when he was older and he still had all his, you know, marbles then, because obviously he got dementia and that's, you know, that wasn't nice to see. But at the time, yeah, that's me. That's when I very first started promoting Colton as Colton's manager. And Roy was very muscly then as well. You know, he was still very, very muscly. When you look at, so, you know, he wasn't aggressive, but you knew. I think everyone knew. Like he had say it with his eyes as well. He'd only have to look at you in a certain way, and you know, you knew. You know, he didn't even have to fight you. You know, you could tell he really was. But he was lovely. He was a lovely person. You know, and it was nice to be around someone like Roy because everyone still talks about him, and a lot of these boxers that have come and gone, people don't talk about. So I think that's nice for Roy's family.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to speak about Lenny quickly, then I'm going
Yeah,
to go on to because obviously this is Crime Tuesdays. So obviously we will talk a bit about, obviously they've both been in prison and I'll lead up to the Lenny Mclean, but I don't think anyone realises. I think it was Lenny Mclean when he was a child. I think it was, and I haven't read his book for about 10 years, so this is off memory, that I think his stepdad was quite a nasty fella to him.
right.
And I think as a kid, he was beaten up a lot, he was hit a lot. And I think when he got to his teenage years, because he was quite big, I think he got quite big in his teenage years. He started doing jobs like window cleaning and that, and he didn't want it, did he? He didn't like it. I think then he started fighting, and obviously he was quite young. So Roy would have been probably in his 30s when Lenny Mclean was like 18, 19, you know. And for someone Roy's age, you can't really look and say, I'm going to fight an 18, 19-year-old, was it? So it was quite a big build-up from what I remember in the book. I don't know how true it was, but I think Lenny or Roy, one of them went to the other one's club, like, and there was only them two there. So, I mean, I don't know how true that is. And said to him, look, I fucking know you are. I want it with you. I've got to have it with someone else first. But me and you are going to have it. And I think that was Lenny going to where Roy worked. But I think Lenny was quite young then. And Roy was sort of experienced fighter. And then from what I gather from there, Lenny just got more and more aggressive. And from what people say, Lenny was quite a bully. I mean, even Frank Warren, who was his cousin, like
Yeah.
says in a video, Lenny was a bad, bad bully, you know. From what I gather, Roy wasn't really like that.
No, Roy
And then,
wasn't a bully. He just, if your cards were marked by him, then you knew. But I heard as well the saying that Lenny was a bully.
yeah, I think
But
a lot of people have publicly said that.
yeah,
There's a lot of people only think that Lenny's the real governor because obviously we saw Snatch. So a lot of people that maybe are 5 years or so younger than me wouldn't have really known who Roy Shaw was, you know. But
no,
anyway, Lenny beat some guy up, didn't he, on the door, right, and
yeah,
threw him out of his club. The guy wandered up the road. Anyway, I think he kicked off with the old Bill. The old Bill arrested the bloke, and I think they bent him up. Anyway, the bloke died in custody, and Lennie Mclean was arrested and I believe charged. And I think he was on remand for no longer than a year or something. And then the case was found that he didn't do it or he got not guilty. But Roy, on the other hand, Wendy, he went to prison for quite a long time and reportedly headbutted through a metal door. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that as well about Roy.
Yeah, no, that is true. He, if he lost his shit, which he did, yeah, he literally, I think he just had so much bottle, Roy. I think that's what makes them legends, perhaps. I don't really, I never got to ask him, like, what gives these. I wish I had have asked him, where do you get your bottle from? Because you don't see much of it nowadays, do you? You see all this, like offering people out and all that stuff. But Roy literally, he wouldn't tell you he was coming. He was the old school way. He didn't tell you he was coming. They were the real sort, you had to fear them if they didn't tell you. Now it's all calling out, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's all done by video. But then, I mean, them 3 fights, they happened over quite a long period, didn't they? Because I think they had a break between one. And I think, I don't know what fight it was they had, but didn't Roy say he'd had some of that? I think they call it ginseng or something.
Yeah, before the fight. So he had a relaxant. And he had said that, he shouldn't have took it. And I know that he was in the dressing room and he had told the promoter, has said, that he had had this as a relaxant because, and that is basically where if someone takes a relaxant, and they get a lucky punch and you drop your guard, then you're done for, aren't you? So that was where I think he thought, I don't know, in his head, it's like anyone, if in the unlicensed game, then you've got to remember if they were smoking weed, as a relaxant, then, it does all different things. You're not focused right. So back then, because there was no drug testing, was there? You've got to remember, if they were coked up, they come on like an animal,
Yeah.
So, and then if they took ginseng or if they smoked weed or, whatever it was, it did the opposite where they weren't focused. So I guess back then, because there was the red tape, like now you get drug tested, the red tape. So
obviously, well, that's it. That's it. If people can afford it, obviously, on the smaller shows like what you did and what I used to do, you couldn't afford drug testing on them, could you? Literally, because it was very expensive as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially for that. But Roy, them 3 fights they had, obviously they had other ones as well. So have you seen Lenny versus it's the gypsy fella and he headbutts him and then Lenny just fucking goes mental. Have you seen that fight?
No, I've not seen it.
And Roy with Donny the Bull Adams. Have you seen that fight?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
He weren't happy knocking him out, so he tried to pick him up, didn't he, and knock him out again. Like he was.
Like giant haystack sort of thing, like WWF kind of thing. He used to go into that mode, They
were quite friendly though, them two, before the fight. It was a bit awkward, the interview outside, because you could see none of them really wanted to do it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Did you see that one? Brilliant footage.
Yeah. And I think them ones are the best footages because people research the old boxers to get, to see what's what. Even the newcomers, they all do research. And I think that's where, the memories still live on of them old faces, which is good, really,
Who promoted all 3 of them fights? Because I know Frank Warren promoted one of them, didn't he?
Joe Pole Sr.
He done the other 2, did he?
Yeah, Joe Pole Sr., yeah.
Because as well, do you see the ticket sales that they've done then? Roy was counting up his money, mate. He done about 15k in tickets.
Yeah.
Like,
and you imagine the vibe. You imagine the vibe of, because that was the old days where you could sit and smoke and watch boxing and where it was like, I suppose, imagine when the Krays were alive and in their club and where all the and all the faces and they were proper geezers. I think, Joe Pole Sr., when he ran Caesars in Streatham, they were proper You know, and even me being around Joey Pole Jr. at Caesars, you could tell you walked in and they were real men. You know, they were real faces and they didn't mess about, you know, you could feel it. And I think when Roy was there, you know, everyone knew that, you know, he had the maximum respect.
I see Joey Pole very similar to, you know, Paulie from Goodfellas, you know, the big boss man. Yeah, like I see so many similarities with him and Joey Pole. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? But obviously,
Yeah.
it's a British sort of version, you know?
Yeah,
The
the
last
Don.
of that sort of person, you know? Yeah, the Don, basically.
He was the Don, yeah, because I think he would stand on that top tier. So you picture, you've got all the faces standing on that top tier, all being allowed to smoke, being allowed, you know, sort of the naughty whispers that I used to hear, you know, and all the sort of the mental and all the real banter, and you just knew that it was, you know, they were fearless. They were absolutely fearless. You see, this is what I say to you with all this, you know, I watch these YouTube and these boxing and the promoters and everything now, and it's so different to back then. Us lot, it's so different. You didn't you pulled your scraps into the ring. Joey Pyle was the man to bring literally, if you had beef, you brought it to Caesars. No talk about it, literally. You know, and that's where it was electric.
Frank Warren obviously done a video, and he promoted one of them fights, and he basically, not so much, but he insinuated Lenny was a bully, and Lenny basically probably didn't give him the money for the ticket sales or whatever. Lenny could have taken the money, but with Joey Pyle, would there be any way someone like Lenny or Roy would knock him for the ticket money or anything like that? Even Lenny, like, would he have too much respect for Joey Pyle? Like, you know what I mean? Rather than with Frank Warren, he could bully him, couldn't he, Lenny? But with Joey Pyle, he probably wouldn't have got away with it.
No, so there was me and Gary Sayer on the door. Gary Sayer is like a block of flats. So this is on Caesar's door. So you had me one side doing the ladies, and you had Gary Sayer the other side of me, and we would put wristbands and we would let them through and everything. And he's like, he's a good friend of mine, Gary Sayer, and he would sort of, you know, he's like a block of flats, and he would check and literally we had a box and you had the office at Caesars, and there was just too much respect there. People didn't, you know, yeah, well respected man. You know, that guy's just said it there. There was too much. You knew who was a face. You knew Joe Pole. You just didn't fuck around. You know, I mean, Joe Pole had his own fight at Caesars. I don't know if you was there then, Dan, but he actually had his own fight at Caesars.
No.
Yeah.
Senior, Joey Pole Senior.
No, Junior.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I think I've seen one of his fights. I definitely saw Roy Shaw's some fight.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot of pressure, wouldn't it, on him?
Yeah.
For his dad ringside, sod that.
Yeah, and I'm very honoured that, you know, that I could pull that off, because to have Roy Shaw watch his son, fuck no, you know, I was kind of, it was a nice fight, but I was dreading it because I thought if his son gets done, I'm fucked. If Roy loses it, it could have been mayhem. It could have been absolute mayhem. You know, no one would want to see that. You know, you had me and Mitch Pole standing there thinking, oh God, if this goes Pete Tong, you know. But
no, I would have done in that case. I would have just got a journeyman and said, "Let him batter the fuck out of you." All right?
Yeah, and that footage would today be, you know, one of the best footages. But it's a lot of pressure when you've got someone like Roy Shaw, and I pulled off my boxing show, and you've got his son fighting, and I'm thinking, my God, please win, and you've got Roy Shaw. You know, it's a lot of pressure. People don't really. This is what I say as promoters. Well, doing your own show is not easy, especially when you've got legends and faces like that. But, you know, it was fine.
Yeah, I had Dave, he come to two of mine, and one of them I was like, "You enjoying it?" And he's like, "Mate, it's some of the best fights I've ever seen. The standards was crap, yeah, but the boys were proper fucking windmilling it." A lot of people like Dave Courtney, Roy, Lenny, we all like that sort of, it's a bit more exciting about that style of fighting sometimes, isn't there? Like the unlicensed.
Yeah.
You know, little bit of like Roy and Lenny stamping on people when they're on the floor. Obviously, like, you know, you can't really justify that anymore, can you?
No, I mean, you had Stormin Norman, who's the fucking governor, didn't you? That used to
Yeah.
say that, like, you know, and people like that, you know, people loved it. People loved all that sort of thing because these guys sort of were the old school lot, you know. You just, I don't know, it's a vibe that you never ever, that footage that you just shown, I still get excited, you know, because
Yeah.
I knew people like that. When you're around people like that, it's very exciting. You don't get excited now. Who have you got now in boxing, apart from Sunday? You know, but even that's not in a ring that people can. You know, we love the unlicensed
Yeah.
was, you know, literally. If you was at Caesars in Streatham, if you was at an unlicensed fight with them sort of people, I used to come home. I couldn't get to sleep. My adrenaline was through the roof because
Oh,
you just,
weirdly, I was saying that to someone earlier. You don't
yeah, it's
realise
like a
when you have
drug.
a night like that, it is. It really
Yeah.
is.
It's like a drug. Your adrenaline. You don't need to take drugs when you was at the unlicensed boxing. It was no holds barred. It was real, you know, real excitement. And I think it was more exciting for people because they could get to meet Roy Shaw. Everyone hears Roy Shaw, you know, Joey Pyle, you know, and I think everyone who was a face, yeah, Sven Hammer. Slow joke is just Sven Hammer worked. I watched him fight. He worked closely with Joe Pole Jr. You know, he was quite a good boxer. And yeah, it was just, I think it just made history. Them sort of people, them, you know, and they weren't young. They weren't youngsters, them boxers.
No. I mean, Roy was mid-40s when he by the third fight,
A
and
lot
Lenny
of them
was sort
were.
of 35.
A
Yeah.
lot of them. When you think you had Welsh Phil, who was an absolute warrior, and then you had people like Gary Sayers, who I mentioned earlier, and you had a lot of faces there, and you had a hell of a lot like Sven, Pete Stoughton, the assassin, um, from over Ken, Colin.
Yeah,
None of
he's
them were
from my way.
young. Yeah, yeah. None of them at all. There was very few that were youngsters. And then again, like Joe Pyle would put a couple of youngsters in off the street. That was the best thing we ever done. You know, if you got beef with each other, why are you getting nicked on the street? Let's get you in the ring. You know, and that was the best thing to do with the Travellers as well that he done. I admire him. I admire Joe Pyle for doing things like that because it brought a lot to the table of enjoyment on them nights.
Yeah, not last year, the Christmas before. I was out in Rochester, right, with this fucking geezer. He was a clown. He was proper pissed up on a work dude. And he's fucking went in this place. He was running his mouth here, and a couple of geezers from Gravesend turned up. And he fucking went from being a big mouthy to shitting himself. And he's like, them geezers are animals. And
Yeah,
luckily, Peter fucking Stoughton was on the door, wasn't
the
he? And I
assassin.
said to him, I was like, all right. And he knew the fella, yeah. And he's
Yeah,
like, look, get rid of him. I'll sort these fucking people out, mate. Otherwise, if it weren't for him, them fellas would have probably fucking bashed it up. But this fella was a muscly fella, giving it all the mouth. And then I see him change when he see these two geezers. I
yeah,
knew, like, and he'd fucking done something to one of their family. And I was like, fuck that. So
yeah.
big shout out for Peter Stoughton for not
Yeah.
letting me have to fight for some idiot that night.
Yeah. But again, he wasn't young when he was fighting. You had K.O. Kitson, one of the Brixton boys. I still talk to him now. And K.O. Kitson used to bring all these Brixton boys with him. Fucking hell. They were savage. And I tell you, you know, it was, but he wasn't young neither. You know, but they could bang. And they made a name for themselves in the right way. You know, none of this mouthing off first. It was literally, right, tonight we've got, you know, we've got this one, we've got that one. And yeah, it put on a good show because they weren't all mouth. And I'm not saying now that, you know, that they can't, that the boxers nowadays can't bang. I would never say that. But what I'm saying is it was literally put your money where your mouth is, get in that fucking unlicensed ring, smash them up. And it just shows that you don't have to be young to be able to make a reputation because none of them were young at all, were they?
Nah, definitely not. Well, and another thing as well, Wens, bare knuckle boxing was obviously illegal back then. So you imagine, like, it's quite mainstream now, isn't it? You can put shows on now.
Yeah.
Imagine back then if they could have done bare knuckle shows legally then. Imagine what they would have been, them shows would have been like.
Yeah, well, Dave Courtney tried it a few times with the hay in Camelot Castle, but the police called it off.
Yeah. Well, he got two, didn't he? He got two
Yeah.
done there.
And then he couldn't get any more. They literally called it off, which is a shame, really, because I think, you know, they don't call off Applebury Fair. Is it Applebury Fair?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why can't we have unlicensed like they used to have back in the? I don't understand what the difference is, you know, because Caesars, we never had police storm Caesars when I was there. So, you know, and I think it would take a lot of it off the streets again.
Yeah.
That was the reason that I did my show. The reason that I literally did my show. Thank you, Starshine. I'm glad that you can listen to me. It's nice to hear that people enjoy the old, because they don't know things like this. But yeah, I think I did my show literally because there was a lot of beef where I lived, and there was a lot of violence, and there was a lot of people getting arrested. And I literally put the show together to say, look, you know, bring it into the ring because it helps. Some people can't afford to go to the gym. Some people don't feel. I know my husband, you know, and I know Carlton's the same, and he won't mind me saying they don't want to go to the gym with all these young, fit, muscly, you know what I mean? Like, it's dad bods, you know, and people don't want to go to the gym and they feel inferior. So the best way when I did my show was to get it off the streets. You can't get nicked for it, unlicensed, and get it in the ring. What's the harm?
Thank you, Jamie Clark. That's my cousin, my real cousin.
Oh, hello, Jamie Clark.
Imagine that. Imagine Lenny and Roy, because obviously you're going to BKFC, and you're a Chazza fan, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm not. I was going when he was going to fight Ben Hatchett.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to Wembley now. No.
Okay. Move on. Anyone got any questions about Roy for Wendy? I could pretend I knew Lenny if anyone wants to ask me anything about Lennie Mclean, but I didn't. But I've read his book and the film. A lot of people were a bit disappointed with the Lennie and the McLean Governor film. How people in the chat think about that? Obviously, you had. Didn't you
sorry,
have?
Dan.
That's all right.
I don't think the films help. Like, who's the other guy? The guy that's in prison now, Charlie
Bronson.
Yeah, I don't think the film helped him get released because I know that I met his family at Dave Courtney's and they were campaigning to free him. But when they brought out the film, you just cringe and you think, I don't think that helped him because the way they portray it is he could never survive in this day and age and this life and the way it's changed. So I don't think sometimes the films don't help them or don't portray them in the right light. They're good viewing.
Did you watch the Governor film?
Yeah. They're good viewing, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you sort of think.
Obviously, there was a lot of well-known fighters in that. Michael Bisping, I believe Decareggi was in that as well. I don't really know the main guy who played Lennie Mclean, but he was a good likeness. But some of it made Lennie Mclean out to be like quite nasty, especially with his cousin in the pub and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm not dissing the film and that, but because Lenny always said, didn't he, that Craig Fairbrass was going to play him. But I'm not sure whether Craig Fairbrass got typecasted as Pat Tate, to be honest.
Yeah, and them films are gripping, don't get me wrong, but I just think that it doesn't portray them, pardon me, in a good light if someone's trying to get out of jail like Charlie. And that's just my personal opinion. And sometimes it portrays them in the wrong light. I know that a lot of 90% of the films are only half and half true, but sometimes I just think you know, it's not a good thing for them. But that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, the films ruin the old school reputation. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes it can, although the films are good.
They are good, but they're films now. You know, they're not like.
No.
It's kind of gone off the storyline, isn't it? And there's so many people still talking about different theories for that. I don't know why that Essex Boys case is so notorious, to be honest. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Roy and Lenny, aren't we? Anyone got questions for Wendy? Somebody said, do me or you know Spud? Where's that one?
Spud Murphy.
Yeah,
No. What, is he a boxer? Is he unlicensed?
I've never
Never
heard of
heard of
Spud
him.
Murphy, I don't think.
No.
Big up Northern King, how are you, bud? Thank you, Danny. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We'll still take a few questions if you want about Wendy, about Roy. I was going to say something as well. Yeah, see,
Thank
Dave
you,
Courtney,
Dan.
that first one, Wendy, he had at his house. The police turned up that first night, and he got away with doing two of them there. But I think it was turning into fucking hundreds of people turning up, and his back garden's big, but it ain't actually that big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been there, obviously,
Great
innit?
parties. Yeah, great parties at Camelot Castle. And yeah, I met Freddie Foreman at Dave Courtney's, and he's the last one left. Out of all them old faces being around Roy Shaw, the Krays, Freddie Foreman's the last one, last real face of them lot.
I had a
They'll probably
message
do
from
a film
someone
on
last
him.
week. He's in home, and Freddie. I had a message from
Yeah,
someone last week about doing an interview with him, but I didn't know if the guy was legit or not on
yeah. I
Instagram.
think we just had his 90th. But yeah, but I suppose I'm surprised they haven't done a film on him. I don't know if they're told. I've never heard, but they should really,
I should.
because he's got
Zinni,
some stories.
can you send it if you're on Insta, bud? Send pictures. That'd be interesting to see about that Spud Murphy. Yeah, definitely some brilliant stories. Sorry.
Yeah. And
Oh,
3D, I just see the guy 3D had a question for me, but I don't know where it's gone.
oh, sorry. I'll get 3D question for Wendy.
It was on there somewhere.
Here it is. Have you got it?
Oh, modern day fighters, who would you compare to Lenny in terms of personality? That's a really good question, 3D. Really good question. Um, it's got to be Decker. But when I watched, I mean, I never met Decker in person, but I watched the Decker and Danny Christie, and I think looking at, yeah, I suppose it's got to be, isn't it? If you're looking at a snatcher, a big growly man, a warrior, a good fighter in that sense, I suppose it is Decker. Would you say, Dan?
Definitely,
Yeah.
got that. You know, I don't know, he's fighting this week, so we're not fucking. By the way, we're not condoning whatever he's done or anything,
No,
but we're
no,
just talking
no. But
about
I'm
Decker as
saying,
a
in
fighter, innit?
answer to I mean, I
But
don't.
yeah, like certainly, I remember him coming into Dave Courtney's, and I remember an aura being around him, and I didn't know who he was. The woman that I went up
No.
with told me who he was, but when he come in, also James McCrory, when James McCrory walked in that night to face Jason Young, and Vice TV were filming it. There was loads of us there
Yeah.
filming
Yeah.
it, and James McCrory and Decareggi definitely had like, I can't explain that. You had to be there to feel it, but
Yeah.
certainly, and I know loads of stuff's come out since and that, but she's
Yeah.
right about Decker. He did have that like, and he did claim to be the governor, didn't he? Obviously to me, but I
Yeah, I
mean, all
mean,
jokes
there's
aside,
no way on this earth that we'd call him the governor. Joey Parr wouldn't have that, and there's no way he'll ever get that title. But as in someone who's a brawler, because the Danny Christie thing, I've never seen so much blood being swept off the floor. So I'm going by the fact that Lennie Mclean could do a lot of damage, and judging by stamina is what I'm trying to. Stamina wise, I would say, yeah, in this day and age it would be Decker, but we'll wait and see. You know, that's just going on one fight. We'll wait and see Sunday.
I'll tell you
What
what.
what was
I'm
the
going to
most
put one
shock?
other name. Sorry, one other name in that. The Hulk, Joe Joyce, the traveller from
I
Ireland. The
haven't seen.
Hulk, Joe
Yeah, I haven't
Joyce.
seen him. I've not seen him fight, so but I'll check that one out.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
what was the most shocked I've? Sorry, it's
Yeah,
gone. What was the
sorry.
most?
Have I gone part? What was the most shocked you've been at a fight?
We got locked in Caesars. Someone was waving a gun around. Good question, UK lady. Someone was waving a gun around, and we all got locked in. And we were just sort of like, what do we do now? And that's when you know you're at a real unlicensed fight. but nothing fears me, nothing phases me. So, it was kind of just, okay, we can't get out. Are we going to get out? But we were all there together, and yeah, it's just, it happened. I'll never forget it.
Right. You can't end it there. Who had the gun and who were they after?
I still haven't got, no, honestly, I still haven't got a clue. All I know is the doors were locked. We wasn't allowed out of Caesars. I'll have to get Joe Poe on sometime to see. But yeah, no, we if anyone, I don't know if anyone's watching and remembers or was there must be someone. Colin Burns will probably know the answer to that. He was one of the security, a West Ham guy, but I still don't know. All I know is we were locked in and we weren't allowed to leave. So I suppose that's how you know you're at a real. But they protected us. Hey, Joe Pole locked the doors. He done right.
That weren't you. That weren't Wendy. Definitely that weren't Wendy. That was another woman, wasn't it?
What's that?
That weren't you. That wasn't you, was it? That was the governor. But that there was a woman who called out who had a boxing show, and Decker fought a fella on that. The governor. That weren't you, though, was it? That's definitely not
I've
Wendy.
never been to it. I've never seen Decker fight. No, never been to it.
That wasn't Wendy. No way. That was another woman. I do know who you're on about. I don't really know her name, but Decker fought that guy, didn't he, and lost.
Don't know. I've only seen the Danny Christie and Decker, and I don't. And no, I don't call anyone out.
Here's Wendy. Big up. Here we go. Lennie Mclean was the best man to come out of the UK, destroying everyone and anyone. Yeah, that's very true, Matthew. But I would have liked, obviously, things like this can't happen, but I would like to have seen a 25-year-old Lennie or 35-year-old Lennie Mclean against a 35-year-old Roy Shaw, But obviously, things like that can't happen, doesn't it?
Mm.
As one generation ends, Wendy, another one begins, doesn't it?
That's it. And someone asked me last time who's an up and coming boxer that I'd rate now. And even though there's no Roy Shaw's, Lennie Mclean's, Joe Pole's faces in boxing, my own boxer who I trained at Peacock Gym, Mike Bourne, is the one that I said before, is doing really, I'm proud of him. I started him off. He's had his very first fight on my show. And I literally kitted him out, got his gum shield, got his shorts, got his license, put him on my show, and he's now gone up from strength to strength, and he's an up and coming one to watch. What made me get into fighting? I love bad boys. At the time, I loved a bad boy, so that's how I was around Roy Shaw, Joe Pole. I'm obviously, been Carlton's manager, still around Carlton Leach. I think it was just that. The bad boy factor, which I think all women have got a little bit in them, the Tom Hardys of, it was all like that. They were all like that. You'd say that, Dan, about Caesars, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Full of bad boys.
Well, I mean, obviously, when you're married as well, how does your husband feel, obviously, about, like, you knocking around with all these characters, shall we say?
I've
got a lot of people watching me back.
He's got a lot of people watching his back.
He obviously don't mind.
No, it's part of my life. It's been my life for a long time. He knew that when he got with me. I'm very lucky because Carlton Leach loves him. Joey Pyle gets on with it. I don't really know what would have happened if they all hadn't have accepted him, because they didn't like my exes. I never took my exes to the boxing. It was, me, Sean, bless him, God rest him, Sean Birch. Because I work in a man's world. So I didn't need to have a man next to me. They were all like my big brothers, but my husband gets included now, and I don't think you mind, do you? No. What was the most savage fight you've seen? Most savage? Blimey, most savage. Cool, I've seen loads. They were all, thank you, Starshine, good question. They were all quite savage back then, weren't they, Dan?
Yeah, like Peter Stoughton, who we were talking about earlier, he had some brutal fights. A lot of headbutts being thrown, and you don't see it as much now, but the old unlicensed, they used to throw sneaky headbutts, elbows. It was a lot different. I think the unlicensed now is more like early pro level, like sort of early pro. Some of them probably could go pro. but they work and stuff, isn't it? It's a big difference. I mean, Roy and Lenny were earning genuine big money from their fights, weren't they?
Yeah. Wouldn't look as big money now in this day, but was big money back then. But I don't think they did it for the money, Dan. I don't think a lot of them fighters didn't do it for the money. This is what I said before. This is the difference. Everyone talks a pound note now. We're the old school lot where you didn't do it. You did it for the love. You did it because you had a lot of testosterone. You did it because you wanted to be in amongst it. You know, money didn't come into it back then. We never had scuffs over money. Yeah, she loves a bad boy, so that's what got me into it. You know, being around it. But it wasn't for the money at all. A lot of them, you know, it didn't come in. It was being in that atmosphere.
That's funny, Starshine, because the other day you were going to me, I don't like bad boys. I like blokes like you.
Not many women admit it. Not many women admit it. I mean, you know, I'm happily married to a good boy now, but at the time, it is the buzz of being around the bad boys, you know. And yeah, it's
yeah, they all give off an aura. Dave used to go down a place called In Shops in Chatham. I don't know if you know it. It seemed to be. I think Roy was down there and all a few times. Dave used to take a few people down there. You know, it used to be quite good, you know, seeing him walking around. He was a character. He still is a character, Dave Courtney.
yeah.
There's a lot of shit going around him about him at the moment. Yeah, I've been messaged about it, and I can safely tell anyone that Dave Courtney and Decker would never. Dave Courtney would not do anything with Decker Eggy. No way. I was there on them occasions, right? I can't speak to later on.
I'm glad that you laid this to rest, because when you messaged me about it, because obviously I was at Dave Courtney's a lot. And I've been at parties, me, Mitch Parle, Joey Parle, a lot of us have been to parties at Camelot Castle, and I will clarify and back you on that. No way is Dave Courtney anything other than a jester, a funny guy, a comedian, if you like. You know, holds a lot of power in his hands, same as I do, having people around us from back then, same as Carlton does. Same, you know, you get. But we've never let the power go to our heads, so to speak. But the boxing and things like that, we were just we were around a lot of faces. You know, I'm still grounded. A lot of us are very grounded. Carlton is to you never let the power go to your head. But I will back you on the fact that Dave's a lot of things, and people call him a lot of things. But I personally have never felt that he's sizing me up, looking me up and down, or my daughters. You know, my daughter's been over there, and I'd know. You know, I would be at a spot if a man is, you know, got his eye undressing you with his eyes. I would know, so I can back you on that.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I've been to Dave Courtney's, I met him loads of times.
Yeah.
He's always been a gentleman, and he does get women throwing themselves at him, and
yeah,
he
they all do.
passes them off kindly.
Yeah,
they do,
Joey Parle, like I say, it is the bad boy effect. I've been with, you know, Joey Parle, and obviously when I run Carlton's website, and where, you know, when Carlton came to my boxing show, women just, you know, it is that bad boy thing, and a lot of women are guilty of it. But
I like it, innit? Boxing Inquirer. When I interviewed Decker Heggie and he said he was the governor, that was in Dave Courtney's dungeon, and it's not downstairs; it's at the back of his house.
But yes. Yeah,
I have been in the sex dungeon of Dave Courtney a number of times with a number of fighters.
Jodie Marsh, I think Jodie Marsh did a Khalid. She was there.
Yeah, she was there. I was in there with her and all. I think she was there that night. Yeah,
she was. And yeah, it was an eye opener. It's disgusting. People need to speak facts, not fiction. Yeah, but it's the way of the world. I mean, not everyone likes the underworld, so if you want to call them that, I don't know what people call them nowadays, and not everyone likes them circles, you know, but each to their own. I personally, this is just my personal opinion from being around them, I never had a problem. It was the circles I moved in, and the same as yourself, Dan. I think I never judge people until I meet them. So that's where I can say that, you know, I would never have had my daughter around them people if they had that reputation, you know, or myself. Come to that, there's liking a bad boy, and you know, wanting to sort of be around that atmosphere. I don't even know where that came, the association You know, that everyone seems to throw that nonce or that perv thing around it. You know, it didn't go on back then. You know, I mean, I would sit at Caesars on Roy Shaw's knee or Courtney's knee or Joe or whoever and chat to them because of the noise, you know. As I said, but that didn't make them anything. You know, it's spread around too freely now. That didn't make them anything. That was just how we rolled.
Yeah, Matt, there's a lot, even believe it or not, I mean, everyone knows this, even in unlicensed boxing, you know, there's people who could sell a lot of tickets. Sometimes they get journeymen. It's the same right the way through. You've got to remember it's a business as well. But there are genuinely fighters, even at pro level, you know, they're set up with journeymen to start, you know. It is corrupt, but it's still the best sport in the world, or fighting is the best sport in the world, like bare knuckle. You know, like you don't get adrenaline going to football matches like you do going to a really good fight show. You don't get that, like, want to stay up all night, natural adrenaline, especially like Wendy. When you've been a promoter and you've done a really good show, not so much about the money, but you see people have a good time, they come up to you and say, oh, it was brilliant. Like the adrenaline off other people is like, you know, you can't buy it really, can you?
No, that I don't get that feeling. Now, I've not been to another one like Caesars where I get that feeling at all of when I walked out. You go home, it's the hype, the vibe. You know, you've been sitting with Roy Shaw, you've been sitting with Joe Pyle, you've been sitting with these faces, you know, you've actually met them and you're going to see them again and you're allowed to be on that top tier and you're allowed to be ringside. There's a lot of pictures of me where they're holding me up. They always seem to pick me up. There's photos of me where I'm ringside and I'm watching it with Gary Sayers, or you know, or I'm even in the ring. And you're not allowed to do that now. You know, you go to a show now. I mean, the 3D Fight Club, I was allowed to sit at the front with Paul Stansby because he was filming it. But the hype of then being able to get in the ring and cheer on and be next to Roy Shaw or next to, as we all were, you know, it doesn't happen now. You're not allowed, you know, to get that close. So that spoils it again as well, I think, because we all used to jump in and have pictures done, and, you know, and that's where all my pictures, there's a lot of me at Caesars and at my own show and around Roy, and, you know, it was such a good vibe and it added to it. Anyone was allowed to get in and be around them people. You never sort of got any sort of, oh, you can't stand there or you can't be there, or you didn't have the different seats. You just all mingled.
If you met a couple of other people that had similar interests to you, would you one day maybe consider doing one more show, like a memorial to all the old school, like Roy, Lenny, Joey Pyle, and try and get people like Peter Stoughton on it, like, you know, not necessarily for charity, because charity goes all wrong and stuff, but for a good night and like a memorial thing to all the old boys. Like, would you consider doing something like that?
Yeah, I would put it to Joe Pyle because he's the face of the unlicensed, and obviously he was the biggest unlicensed promoter after his dad. No two ways about it. There's lots of, you know, promoters out there, but when it comes to the old school lot, if Joe Pyle said, yeah, let's do it, then yeah, I would. And, you know, I know that you sort of, people are hungry for that. People are hungry to hear, like, everyone's interested, like they're saying in the comments. You know, people forget about the old shows and the old faces sometimes, and that we was around what it was like. People like hearing the difference. And they grow from it. You know, people can grow from listening to us having them faces. And we could teach them a thing or two if we had one done. I think, you know, people are always interested in the old school lot. You know, so yeah, it's possible. It can be done. You know, once you've pulled off one show, it can be done. Why, is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking about doing something with you, and I've got I could bring some I could bring some people who can definitely bang old school, not, you know, like the olden days. One of the first people I'll be contacting will be Peter Stoughton, 100% through you.
Yeah.
Speak to him. We'll have a further chat. Obviously, you're going away, isn't it? But
Yeah, well,
it'd be interesting.
I went to the Assassin, Pete, to get him put in Joey's book, the
Okay.
Unlicensed. And I went to, it was me that went to Pete because Joey had forgot to put him in the book. And that's what I do. I'm the networker of them all. So I literally don't forget. And Joey was coming to me going, have I forgot anyone? So I kind of, said, yeah, you got to have Pete in it because he was a big part of that. Pardon me, sold a lot of tickets. Have you got KO Kitson in it? Have you got Gary Sayers in it? And I literally went to them boys and got them put in the book. So, yeah. Gary Sayers is still about, the Assassin's still about, Kitson's still about. So they would all definitely come because, I managed to get them respect, put them in it. So, yeah, it's doable. And I think I think the new faces and the new promoters that are just starting out and learning would come to that as well to meet them sort of people. Because don't forget, I'm the only person who probably talks to them old faces now and share the memories with them. So yeah, I think it's good for the networking for the youngsters and the promoters that are around now.
Yeah.
To
We need
they're
down
quite
here and all.
inspired.
All the shows seem to be up north, don't they? We have to travel up, isn't it? So we
Yeah.
need something down there. Cool tools. Just on that one, mate. I've seen your messages. Years ago, I did a story. It was a written one on a website about the old boxing booths and stuff like that. And my great granddad was Bombardier Billy Wells. Like, he was the first Lonsdale champion, and he's the one Bombardier Beer's kind of named after, I believe. Have you got any memorabilia, Wendy? That's a good question.
Memorabilia. Yes. Yes, good question, Starshine. I have got memorabilia in my loft. So, yeah, it'd probably be worth a fortune, because they only build money when they're gone, don't they? A lot of the memorabilia. So, yeah, I have got a few bits.
She's being very secretive on that, hasn't she? She's probably got his shorts and everything up there, hasn't she? Even the empty bottle of ginseng.
Oh, God, yeah. Can you imagine how much that would be worth? Who's the bigger firm, Richardson's or the Krays? Krays. I don't know the Richardsons.
Right.
You don't hear as much. But I think definitely the Krays, because there's been films made of the Krays. You got Legend, you got The Rise of the Krays, you've got the Kray twins. You haven't got a Richardson's film, to my knowledge.
Well, that's a thing. Like, there was two firms, isn't it? But a lot of people say the Krays were more spoken about, and the Richardsons were a lot more quiet and went about their business a lot more quiet. I would like to see a business about them, but they made their money from scrap metal to start with, and then went into other crime, didn't they? So,
right.
Oh, maybe we got a Kray and a Richardson one coming up soon. Then Wendy.
Yeah, it's all the ideas, isn't it? But yeah, no, I who's the assassin? Pete Stoughton. If anyone wants to look him up. Yeah,
he's a good fellow. He promotes shows around where I live. I don't know if he still does. I haven't seen him for a few years, but
good on him. He branched off. Good on him. There's a few pictures of me holding his belts up, for him, and he done well. And like I say, for his age as well, to still be doing it.
Yeah, because it's been hard for boxing promoters, especially since COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how much the bigger shows struggled, like UFC, Eddie Hearns, Pete Stoughton, that's it. Yeah, no, it's Pete Stoughton, Stoten.
Yeah, someone thinks the Kray Starshine, so yeah, they should have been let out. And I tell you now, I think even though us lot weren't around the Krays, I've been around Freddie Foreman at the boxing to know that if there was ever someone around like the Krays, we would have less paedophiles, kiddie fiddlers. I think we'd go to them to help us rather than the old Bill. Because I think they were a force to be reckoned with, and I think there should be more people like the Kray. I know you've got the guys that go around now that do it, wait for the old Bill to arrive. But I mean, the Krays, in my eyes, would have been someone you'd have gone to salt people like that, and good on them, if they got it sorted.
Definitely, but you didn't quite hear of sexual abuse as much back in them days, did you?
No, but I just feel that the police have got so much to do that you'd have gone to the Roy Shaws and the Lennie Mcleans, actually. Let's not rule them out. You know, maybe you'd have gone to them. Yeah, Freddie Foreman. Yeah, you know, you'd have gone to people like that. I think I would have done if you knew they lived on your street corner. You wouldn't have bothered with the old bill, would you? It would have been them because they were proper. You know, would have got the job done. I'm not saying the old bill doesn't.
I'm not disrespecting Ronnie or Reggie Kray as it's, but it's known they were. I'm not going to say they were paedophiles, but Ronnie Kray did used to like young boys about 13, 14 sort of years old, and that's a known fact, isn't it? I mean, that's something now. You know, nowadays he'd be called a bacon, wouldn't he? Like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it means? I didn't. I saw it on YouTube. I saw someone say it. Is that what it means? Right. Thanks for clearing that up. I didn't know what it meant when I see it.
I thought it meant old Bill, to be honest.
I did. Yeah, I didn't have a clue. So I'm glad because I'm seeing all these new things, call outs, and I'm thinking, what is that?
Yeah, so that's the new thing. That's what.
Where do they get it from?
I've got no idea. Like
where do they get this new lingo from?
I think it's not coming from up north. Definitely, the further up north you go, I mean, you know, you get up to sort of Scotland, and you got this just crazy. That whole area's got these crazy YouTubers, and you know, like I don't know, they're not huge. YouTubers should be fucking doing their own content, getting on with their own thing. But there's a stale world at the moment where everyone's hanging around the same thing, you know. And Decca's kind of gone offline, and everyone, other people have all the same. Them people now that are attacking him are arguing amongst themselves now. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think as well that literally, like we're talking about Roy Shaw and Lennie Mclean and the old faces, this Sunday will go down in history like that. Definitely. The build up has been so. The build up to this Sunday's fight with Decca and Dean does feel like a Caesar's. You know, does feel like back in the day. You got hyped by a big fight coming on. You knew when there was a big fight coming. You knew when it was brewing. You knew even you saw it outside the ring, and then you saw it in the dressing room, and I saw it all the time. But this hype of Sunday, this long awaited, because it's been so long awaited, this one will go down in history like them ones did, like the Joe Piles. Someone said earlier about Joe Piles Senior's funeral. You know, and you know that was massive, and the cars, and somewhere I see it flash up. You know, and there's certain things that you remember about certain people, and Sunday will definitely be memorable, like that. You know, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got the buzz for it. I can feel it. I can feel it already. When you know there's a good fight coming, you can feel it. So I ain't been excited about a fight like this for a long time. You know?
And I get it because I've been around that world for so many years, and because I was around Joey Pyle, and because I was around them fighters, I got all the warmth and the coolness and everything absorbed in me because, you know, don't forget I was running the Ring Girls. So I literally was in the backstage of it. I was everywhere as a team. And literally it was such a big build up to the show. And on the night, you know, it was fucking awesome. And I think Sunday, you know, whoever, good on them both. I mean, I'm not here. I'm out the country. I was going, but good on them both for creating such a hype. Whether it be good, bad, whatever. Whether I mean, back in them days, unlicensed, you did shake hands after, which was we classed it as good sportsmanship. Whether they do, whether they don't, is up to them. But that was just our good sportsmanship. You did shake hands, and I think if you're old school, you had to as a mark of respect. Whether they do or they don't, I wish them both. You know, because it's there's such a lot of pressure on them both now. There's such a lot of pressure on them both. You know, they are literally going to be fighting for breath, their last breath. But you know, I mean, obviously, I'm Team Dean because I don't know Decca and because I'm 3D. But I just want to say, as you know, as I know the circuit, good on them both. for bringing this to the because there's thousands of people watching, waiting to. I know, I can tell you, I was on the phone to Carlton Leach earlier, and he's looking forward to it. He's watching it. So it just shows you that the old faces, the proper faces, he might not be on social media, and he might not know them both, but he is watching it. So that just shows, not a lot of people know that you've got that hot off the press.
Is there anyone in the chat, Starshine or anyone, could you just clip that little bit where she says Carlton Leach talks about the Decker fight, so I can put it up in a bit if you don't mind? No, I've got to do it now. Everyone clicks their videos, isn't it? So if anyone could click that bit of Wendy talking about that and Instagram it, may I be much appreciated.
Yeah,
so I can put up Wendy talks Carlton. Yeah,
because I speak to him about it because he used to like the boxing and he used to come to the boxing. So, obviously, I wanted to ask him. This is what I'm saying. So this fight will go down in history, like we're talking about the old ones now. And good on them for bringing that to the table. Really, it doesn't matter whether they hate each other, whether or whether they don't talk again, or whether they shake hands, or they do, or whatever. It just shows you that they are bringing a lot of attention, and I think people want that. People love that. I hope they both get out safe and well, obviously, because I've been a promoter myself, and no one likes to see. I've been there when people have had to be brought back to life. We had to have the ambulance by the side, and and I've seen it firsthand. So I just want to say that as, I don't wish anyone to because of the hype of other people watching and paying. Well, I don't know if is it free live stream? I'm not sure, but I just wouldn't like to see.
Right, basically, as it stands, right, I'm going to go live at 11:30, hopefully, from the ring. It is in the ring, by the way. Someone just asked. Yeah. I'm going to be going live, but I'm not filming the fight. Decker and Dean have got their own streams for the fight. They will be announcing it Thursday, I think, how you can watch it. But I'll be doing pre-fights, and I'll be trying to get hold of people there. And obviously, I'm going to do a post-fight interview of them both. Yeah. But other than that, the stream is on their channels, both Dean and I presume it'll be on Dougie Joyce's channel. I don't know about pay-per-view or anything. I haven't heard back from Dean yet.
Well, it just shows you that, like we're saying about Lennie Mclean and Roy Shaw's, they were massive. They were massive. They were faces. And this just shows you that every single person that I've got my own people going to watch this fight Sunday that on YouTube and that have said to me, Clark, my good friend Clark, he's watching it. I've got people that are just so intrigued. So that just shows you that although we're talking about the old faces, the Lennie Mclean, the Roy Shaw, this one's now, and this one's gonna get some fucking press.
Definitely. Westy, 3D Fight Club fan, you are more than welcome to put that on your channel, bud. No problem at all. As long as you send it to me, mate.
Yeah,
No
we're away, but there's no way my husband and me won't watch it. And the same, my friend Crusher, my brother from another. I've got so many people that because it just, it's just. I think it's excitement.
Yes, I am going layer cake. Me and I believe Joe Kidd is the only other podcaster going.
Yeah.
According to Joe, put that on my Instagram the other day. Yeah, 3D Fight Club though. You can if you want to. Carlton Leach is quite a big name. If you put Carlton Leach at the start, you'll get good views, isn't it? And it'll expand your channel.
Joe Kidd's asked me to do a podcast. So yeah, I'm hoping that Joe Kidd comes to 3D Fight Club. I've told him if he comes to the next 3D, then I'll talk to him then, and Paul Stansby, because he's asked to do us. So that would be good.
I'm starting to wonder if Joe Kidd's following me, because everyone after I interview people, they say, "Oh yeah, Joe Kidd's asked me to do it as well."
Yeah.
Big up Joe Kidd. I'll be getting an interview with Joe Kidd on Sunday as well.
Good.
Nice
it's nice
fella,
though, because but I think that's nice. Why don't we? I said this before, didn't I? We should all, you don't need the wars. You should all, if we all group together, in love and peace, everybody love everybody, like it was back in then in the art and license. We could make it all better. But everyone's not going to get on.
Oh, mate, I'm already thinking like fucking. We could get the money, get Douglas Doherty and fucking Dougie Joyce in a ring.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be the next one. After this Dean and Decker, that would be the one. Because then that's sort of people want to see things like that.
thank you, Starshine. I've just seen your WhatsApp. Thank you for doing that.
I love her.
I
I
know
love
she's
you,
cool, so.
Starshine. Positivity in women. Love it.
Yeah, she likes you as well.
Whoop, whoop. No, love it because she's interested, and I'm glad that that's why we're doing this, Dan. We want to be interesting,
Yeah, but she didn't really know much about fighting before, innit? Like,
There's
she come
Crusher.
and
Yeah.
talked that one, like, innit? Wait, come on. Sorry,
Love
I'm
you
trying
too,
to-
Crusher.
Where's Crusher?
He's there. I'll be watching it. He's talking about Sunday. So my people, Crusher, they all want to see it. It's good.
Big up to you, Crusher.
Thank you.
Will you be watching my channel, Crusher, when I go live at 11:30? I hope you will.
Yes, he will. He will.
Because I will be literally trying to interview every single person who will let me.
You're
Just for you lot. Innit?
Yeah, no, and Dan, well done for you for going because you're going to have amazing footage. I'm quite jealous. I'm actually jealous.
Do you know why? Do you know why they invited me? So don't get involved in all the grief and that, do I? And I say things how they are down the middle. They like travellers like that.
Yeah,
You know,
and
I
I'm the
haven't been
same.
invited
Yeah,
through Dougie. I haven't been invited through Dougie. I've been like contacted personally by the Oxford Joyces to go.
yeah,
You know.
but it don't matter. At least you're there. And the thing is, it's good for your channel and it's good for you to get amongst it. Yeah, I'm very jealous, but I'm still going to be sitting on a beach around the pool with me.
You are.
With me sangria. So.
Had you not have been away, I would have probably asked you to drive me up there and film with me. So you would have been going. So you chose a holiday over the biggest fight of the year. Shame on you, Wendy.
Shame on me. Shame on me. But I do think, we need to get need to put our heads together and we can make it happen. Do something definitely because you've got a lot of people who enjoy your channel and have got a lot of input and we've got and it's easy to put a show together once you've done one like I've done. It is easy, so it can be done.
I did 5 and I needed a rest from it after 2.5 years. All right.
Yeah.
I reckon I could fucking put the energy to do one every now and again, but not
Never
every
say
3
never.
months like I was doing. Right?
Never say never.
So all these people on YouTube how it's done, isn't it, with the unlicensed?
Yeah.
Sign the big names. Sign the big names.
Yeah. And there's never been another Caesars. No one put them together like that. And it's a shame that you've got no new good faces. So yeah, perhaps we need to bring it back the old school way and get the aura going, Perhaps it's something, we could think about it. Good call.
All right. Well,
so we've got what was that? Someone ugly attitude saying that Dean's going to lose. Was it?
It's a fair opinion. I mean, it's a fair opinion if you think that, isn't it? As long as when people leave opinions, they don't have to say stupid, horrible stuff. If they say Dean's going to win or Decker's going to win, fair play to them for having an opinion.
Look at her name, Ugly Attitude.
Where is she? I can't even see her.
I don't know. I just called it. Is it Ugly Attitude?
Oh yeah.
I just saw a glimpse of it.
Yeah, I kind of like we have been saying on the other day as well. Pretty girl, Ugly Attitude. Dean needs to be definitely needs to be double Decker's fitness. Definitely.
Listen. Let's have it right. So we've just said, look at the size of Roy Shaw, and I was there. Right, with Roy Shaw, I've seen the size of Roy Shaw personally because you can't always tell on a picture. And look at the size of Lennie Mclean. Now, at the end of the day, Roy stepped in that ring and was up against it, but he's gone down in history and he had a bloody good fight. Right, so you have to admire him. It's no good saying this one's going to lose, and everything, because at the end of the day. You really don't know. You can't odds it. So I would just, everyone should be like us. Keep your opinions until you actually watch it on the day. I'm not one of them people, I wouldn't have said anything. I've got faith in Dean. Listen, do you think Dean would really go ahead if he didn't feel like Roy Shaw that he was in with a chance? But then I'm one of the old school lot, you know. I don't know if that's a young girl, but don't submise. You know, all them people. Oh, you know, don't submise. I think was what we never did that back in the day. We never sort of, if we went Caesars, we used to see a big fucking geezer who would lose against a little geezer. Or a big geezer, you know, like I say, it's not the size of the fight. It's the size of the dog. The fight in the dog. So I don't know. I don't know why people are so judgmental. Really?
Well, we're going to see after Sunday, and the problem is Cool Tools. Apart from Gary Furby in that unlicensed fight, bare knuckle, I don't think anyone's ever ended Decareggi quickly, even people his own weight, isn't it? So
is that what it is? I don't know what it is. Is that what it is? Is that what they're going by?
what's that? The weight?
Yeah, is that what they're
The
going
weight
by?
and the fights.
Because Dougie said they're the same height, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Deca might be a little bit tiny taller, but obviously a lot wider. But
Oh,
Dean's kept his weight on, hasn't he? Dean's at 14 stone.
Yeah.
Has Wendy seen Dean fight?
I've seen
Probably
the footage
not.
of him. I've seen him training, but I've no, you know, I've not seen him fight. But I've seen him training, and you know, he's training. Who is this bird?
Who's this bird? Wendy, her
rewind
name
it
is.
back. Yeah.
Carlton Leach's auntie.
Yeah. Who is this bird? Question mark. Put a picture up of me. Put one of them pictures up. Someone's obviously just come on. Who is this bird?
All right.
Put a picture up.
I've got it. Not
there
that
you go.
one. Not that ring girl one though. Do you still dress up as a ring girl for your husband?
Yeah, of course.
So
There. That's who this bird is.
Yes.
There you go.
So she's with Carlton Leach, Joey Pyle, Roy
Mitch
Shaw,
Pyle,
Joey Pyle Jr.
Mitch Pyle, and Big Joe Egan and Rocky.
There you go.
They are.
Fact
That's who this bird
notification.
is.
Just for you, fact notification. Deca did fight. Steve Cyril was massive. I know we keep talking about this, but now it's fight week. A lot of people do want to go onto it. But obviously we're talking about the real governors, Roy and Lenny. So on the ending of the Roy and Lenny, everybody who's listening, who do you think the real governor was? Press 1 for Lennie Mclean or 2 for Roy Shaw. All right. 1 Lenny, 2 Roy. What are you pressing, Wendy? 2 for Roy, yeah?
Shaw, yeah.
Well, I'm going to see what the feedback is. Jamie Clark, what are you saying? Lenny or Roy? So we got Lenny.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Couple of people can't decide. So we've got a Roy Shaw. Cool Tools is old school, isn't it? He remembers all that old stuff.
Yeah.
Cool Tools, I'll be interested to chat to you more about your granddad, me old mate. Are you on Insta or anything like that? Sounds quite interesting too. We got another. We got more. Oh, I think it's evening itself out a bit.
Yeah.
No. Starshine's just put it back to Lenny. That means I've got to decide, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1.
No pressure.
1 or 2.
No pressure, Dan.
I've got to go. Honestly, from all of this, I've got to go for Roy Shaw. I'm sorry to any Lennie Mclean fans, but I'm going to equal that up. So they're kind of equal. There ain't any footage of their first fight, is there? I've never been able to find any.
No one can. I've been asked that before.
Do you know what exactly happened in that fight?
No.
Because I know is that Roy won, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's why I've always been asked for the footage, because it's hard to judge when no one's seen the footage.
Right. Sorry. No, well, obviously I'm not going with Joe Kid, but he is going to be there, yeah, so I'm told. Lenny is more feared. Yeah, we said earlier Lenny was kind of more known as a bully. I don't think Roy would start trouble on you unless you really
Lenny was
kicked
a
off
big
in his
man.
club.
Lenny was probably looked like a bit like Big Joe Egan in that picture with me. Hands like shovels, a big man. Whereas
Fighting
Roy,
Talk UK, bud. Sorry, Wendy.
whereas Roy was a little man, but you knew not to fuck with him. I think, you know.
Yeah. So someone
I think
says
they
Wendy
go.
called it.
Too many people go by size, you know, and I think that's where a lot of people rated Lenny.
Oh, Roy Shaw's just gone in front on the vote.
Yeah.
Did Roy beat Lenny in? Yeah, the first fight he beat him in, but there's no footage. I think
No.
you got the second fight. Well, the first fight was the one I showed earlier, and then the other one's on there as well. But I don't think Roy Shaw was the sort of bloke that would make excuses. I think if he would have lost fairly, he would have lost, wouldn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
He oh shit, sorry. D Lynch Wall just rang me.
Again, every time we're on a live, he rang last time we was on a live.
He did. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
I'll have to ring him back in a minute. Fight week, innit? Everyone wants to talk on fight week.
Yeah. Good on him,
Dean,
though.
I don't know if you're listening. I'll ring you back, mate.
Good on Dean. I'm sorry. Obviously, you know, I know Dean. Good on him. You know, I think it takes balls, and yeah, I'll be right there with him in spirit, obviously.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been an hour, hour and a half nearly. Wendy, thank you for coming on. Enjoy your holiday and make sure you watch.
Sorry, Dan. The name of Joe Piles Jr.'s book, and I'm in it. I just got to plug that. Is The Unlicensed.
That's the seniors book, isn't it? Joe Paul Senior.
Joe Junior's the one I'm in that I sent you. It's called Unlicensed.
Okay.
It's a really good book.
It's quite expensive and it's hard to get hold of.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I went to look at it. I think, well, I say expensive. You know, you can get books for £1 now, so I think a tenner's expensive for a book. So it's not expensive. If you're a tight get, it's expensive. If you'd rather spend a tenner on a bag of weed than a book, then it's expensive, isn't
it? Yeah. Yeah.
Right, Pete's, I'm going to go. The fight world is calling. I've got a few calls to make, and
thanks for having me, Dan.
To it.
Thank you, Starshine. Thanks, everyone. Great talking to you all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge about Roy. It's been brilliant.
No problem. No problem. I enjoy it. Thanks, Dan.
No worries. I'll speak to you soon. Don't forget to watch the channel on Sunday, all right?
Yeah, of course. Stay safe on Sunday as well.
Definitely.
All right, mate.
It's a shame you're not here. See you later on.
Thanks, everyone.